Stuff you should think about. I think this is episode 13, I believe. Which is the largest bear species on Earth? Hey, I'm G, and welcome to the Stuff You Should Think About podcast. I answer everyday questions about the phenomena and objects around you in quick, bite-sized episodes. I go get the answers because you don't have time to, and I bring them back in a way you can listen to on your break, on your way to work, and on your way home, or while you're cooking dinner, or any little bit of free time you've got. Okay, so I guess you're asking, or I should ask, why a bear? When you hear the word bear, a few images probably flash through your mind. A cuddly teddy bear on a kid's shelf, a hulking creature lumbering through the forest, or that iconic bear hug you give your best friend after a long day. Bears are both familiar and mysterious, existing at the intersection of myth and reality. But beyond the stories and the Instagram-worthy photos, there's a genuine scientific curiosity that begs the question, which bear is the biggest of them all? It might seem like an answer. Just look at the size chart and pick the largest number, right? Not quite. The world of bears is a patchwork of subspecies, habits, and adaptations that make biggest a surprisingly nuanced concept. In this episode, I'm going to identify the heavyweight champion of the bear world, dive into the anatomy and biology that allow that bear to grow so massive, compare its close competitors, the Kodiak brown and the giant panda, talk about challenges these giants face in a rapidly changing world, and offer a few fun facts you can drop at your next trivia night. So, grab a cup of coffee, put on your headphones, and let's trek into the wild together. Meet the contenders. Before we crown a champion, let's get acquainted with the major players that could stake a claim to the title of largest bear. The polar bear species. Its scientific name is Ursus maritimus. Typical weight of males is about 350 to 700 kilograms, which is about 770 to 1,540 pounds. The typical weight of females is 150 to 300 kilograms, and that usually equals about 330 to 660 pounds. And the typical length, full length, including the tail, is usually about 2.4 to 2.5 meters, or 7 to 9 to 8.2 feet. With the Kodiak brown bear, its scientific name is the Ursus arctos medendorfi. Typical weight of males is 300 to 680 kilograms, which is 660 to 1,500 pounds. Typical weight of females is 150 to 250 kilograms, which is 330 to 550 pounds. And the typical length is usually 2.4 to 2.7 meters, which is 7.9 to 8.9 feet. The giant panda, its scientific name is Auropoda menonolucia, and the typical weight of the male is 85 to 125 kilograms, which is 187 to 275 pounds. Females, 70 to 100 kilograms, which is 154 to 220 pounds. And the typical length is 1.2 to 1.5 meters, which is about 4 to 5 feet, including the tail. The American black bear, scientific name for that is Ursus americanus. The typical weight of a male, 57 to 250 kilograms, which is 125 to 550 pounds. Females, 30 to 135 kilograms, which is 66 to 298 pounds. And the length is about 1.2 to 2 meters, equal to 4 to 6.5 feet. The sun bear, scientific name, Helarctos malinus. Typical weight of males, 25 to 80 kilograms, equal to 55 to 176 pounds. Females, 20 to 65 kilograms, which is equal to 44 to 143 pounds. And the length is 1 to 1.5 meters, which is equal to 3.3 to 4.9 feet. The sloth bear, its scientific name, Molursus arsenis. The typical weight of males, 55 to 145 kilograms, equal to 121 to 320 pounds. Females, 45 to 115 kilograms, which is equal to 99 to 254 pounds. Length, 1.5 to 1.8 meters, equal to about 5 to 6 feet. And lastly, the speckled bear, scientific name, Tremarctos ornatus. Males, 80 to 250 kilograms, which is equal to 176 to 551 pounds. Females, 60 to 140 kilograms, which is equal to about 309 pounds. And the length is 1.4 to 1.9 meters, or 4.6 to 6.2 feet. And these numbers are averages. Individual bears can deviate wildly because of genetics, diet, and the time of year they're measured. Here's a quick takeaway. Polar bears and Kodiak brown bears are the closest rivals for the largest title. Female bears are consistently smaller than males, sexual dimorphism, sometimes by as much as 50% in weight. The giant panda, though iconic, doesn't come close to the sheer mass of either Arctic or Alaskan giants. Now that we have a basic lay of the land, let's dig deeper. The polar bear, Arctic's apex megafauna. What makes a polar bear the heavyweight champ? If you ever flip through the wildlife documentary and see a massive white bear gliding on a floating iceberg, you're looking at a polar bear. Scientific census places the polar bear, Ursus maritimus, at the top of the size hierarchy, but only by a narrow margin, and only when you consider the largest documented individuals. Maximum recorded weight. A massive male caught in 1960 near Churchill, Manitoba, tipped the scales at 680 kilograms, and that's about 1,500 pounds. That's a bit more than a small car. Average adult male ranges between 350 to 450 kilograms. That's about 770 to 990 pounds. But many individuals have been documented above 500 kilograms, which is about 1,100 pounds, especially those that have access to plentiful seals populations. Length. From the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, a typical adult runs about 2.4 to 2.5 meters, which is about 7.9 to 8.2 feet, with a shoulder height of roughly 1.3 meters, which is about 4.3 feet. Anatomy built for a frozen world. Insulation mastery. Polar bears sport a 2-layer coat, a dense underfur, and guard hairs that appear white but are actually transparent. The whiteness comes from scattering of light. Think of snow. This doubled layer system traps air, creating fantastic insulation against temperatures that can plummet below 30 degrees Celsius or negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. They're massive fat reserves. An adult polar bear can store up to 30% of its body weight in blubber. Think of it as a built-in life raft during lean hunting seasons. This fat not only helps them warm, but also provides the energy needed for long-lasting periods during the summer melt. Paws of a snowshoes. Each foot can be 30 centimeters, 12 inches wide, spreading weight across a large surface area, essentially natural snowshoes. The soles are rough, providing excellent traction on ice. Super dense. While we think of bears as having a powerful sense of smell, and they do, about 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles away, polar bears also have excellent vision, adapted for the low light Arctic twilight, and tolerant hearing that can pick up subtle movements of seals under the ice. Lifestyle and diet. The seal hunters. The polar bear's primary diet is heavily skewed towards seals, especially ringed and bearded seals. They're apex predators, practicing a hunting technique known as a steel hunt, which includes identifying a breathing hole, a seal hole in the ice, standing motionless until a seal surfaces for air, pounce and snatch the seal with powerful limbs. Because seals provide high fat meals, a single successful kill can sustain a bear for weeks. In years where sea ice drifts farther offshore, polar bears are forced to fast for longer periods, leading to weight loss and lower reproductive success. Conservation status. Walking the thin ice. The IUCN Red List categorizes polar bears as vulnerable, primarily due to climate change. As Arctic sea ice melts earlier each year, bears have less time to hunt, resulting in declining body condition and lower curb survival. Population estimate in 2023 was 22 to 31,000 individuals across the circumpolar Arctic. Key threats: climate change, oil and gas exploration, pollution, especially PCBs that climate and accumulate in fat, and human-bear conflicts as bears wander closer to settlements. The Kodiak brown bear, the other heavyweight. Who are Kodiak brown bears? The Kodiak brown bear occupies as a much smaller geographic range. The Kodiak archipelago off the southern coast of Alaska, plus parts of the Alaska Peninsula, although technically a subspecies of the brown bear, Kodiaks have been isolated for roughly about 12,000 years, allowing them to evolve distinct traits. The maximum recorded weight, an extraordinary male measured at 680 kilograms, which is about 1,500 pounds. The same upper bound as the biggest recorded polar bear, though this is an outlier. Typical adult male weight is about 770 to almost 1,200 pounds, and the length is usually just under 9 feet from nose to tail, making them a bit longer than polar bears, though generally more compact in body size. Adaptations for a more temperate habit. Dietary optimism. Unlike almost exclusive seal diet of the polar bear, Kodiaks are more omnivorous generalists. Seasonal salmon runs, especially sockeye and king salmon, provide massive protein and fat spikes. Berries, roots, and grasses fill in the plant component. Small mammals, fish, and carcasses, including whale remains, are opportunistically consumed. Because their diet is more varied, they don't require the same level of fat storage, though they still pile on the pounds during salmon season. A muscular build. Kodaks possess massive forelimb muscles for digging and rooting, a key part of their foraging strategy. They can flip massive logs to expose insects or break open log nests hosting marmots. A thick fur. Their fur is dense and typically brown to blonde, providing insulation for the cold, wet climate of the Alaskan coast. Unlike polar bear fur, which is essentially transparent and highly reflective, Kodak fur is pigmented, helping them with camouflage among forest and tundra. The social structure and reproduction. Kodiak bears are solitary for most of the year, but gather around salmon streams during the spawning season. Mating occurs in late spring, early summer. Female bears give birth to 1 to 3 cubs in hibernation dens, usually January through February. Cub survival rate. Historically around 60% in favorable years, Weaning. Cubs stay with the mothers for 2 to 3 years, learning foraging techniques and how to handle the massive salmon. Conservation status and human interaction. The Kodak bear is currently listed as the least concern by the IUCN, but localized threats exist, one being habitat encroachment from logging and mining, the next being human bear conflicts, especially as tourists venture into bear country. The last one would be climate change, and that may affect salmon runs, indirectly influencing bear nutrition. Overall, their population is stable at about 3,500 individuals across the archipelago as of 2022. The giant panda, a cute contrast. Before we wrap up the heavyweight debate, let's pay a quick tribute to the giant panda, the beloved black and white bear that steals hearts worldwide. The average weight of a male is about 187 to 275 pounds. Female, 150 to 220 pounds. Clearly, they're not running for the largest, but pandas are massive in cultural impact. Their high-fiber bamboo diet, up to about 84 pounds per day, and low-energy lifestyle keep them relatively slim compared to their carnivorous cousins. Putting the numbers together, who's really the biggest? Well, the maximum documented weight was about 1,500 pounds for a polar bear and about 1,500 pounds for a Kodiak bear. For a male polar bear, it was about 770 to 990 pounds. For a Kodiak brown bear, it was 350, was about 1,200 pounds. Average length for a polar bear, about 8 to just a hair over 8 feet. Kodiak bear, 8 to just under 9 feet. Body condition for a polar bear, about 30% body fat. Kodiak brown bear, moderate. Habitat for a polar bear, sea ice, Arctic Ocean. Kodiak bear, coastal forest and tundra. Conservation status for a polar bear is vulnerable, climate driven. Kodiak bear, least concern, stable. Bottom line is, while both species can tip the scales at the same maximum weight, the polar bear is generally considered the largest bear on Earth because its average adult male size and body are comparable to and often exceed those of the Kodiak brown bear. Moreover, the polar bear's massive blubber reserves make it heavier per unit of volume, effectively giving it a greater overall mass. Fun facts to impress your friends. Polar bears can swim for days. In 2011, a polar bear named Nanook was tracked swimming for over 62 miles without a break, an endurance feat that would make a marathon runner blush. Another one is Kodiak bears once ate entire whale carcasses. When a gray whale beached on the Alaskan coast, a few bears tore it apart, feasting on blubber for weeks. Another one is polar bear fur isn't actually white, it's transparent. Light reflects off the hollow shafts, giving the illusion of white fur. Another one is bears have a gustatory organ, which is a special Jacobson organ in the roof of their mouth, helps them detect scents, a trait shared with snakes. And the last one is both species have a gular pouch, a stretchy skin flap under the chin that can expand to hold large bites of food. Think of it as a built-in lunchbox. How to spot a bear from a safe distance. If you ever find yourself hiking in Alaska or traveling to the Arctic, here are a few quick safety tips. Carry bear spray, a proven deterrent when used correctly. Make noise. Talk, sing, or wear a bear bell to avoid surprising a bear. Stay alert near salmon streams, Kodiak or seal holes, and polar. Bears are most active in these zones. Never approach a mother with cubs. Maternal aggression is a real thing. Keep food stored properly. In Alaska, Bear-proof containers are mandatory on camping grounds. If you want to dive deeper, here are some recommended reads and resources. First one is Polar Bears, The Natural History of a Threatened Species by Ian Sterling. And it's worth it because it's a comprehensive scientific review on polar bear ecology and conservation. Next one, The Kodiak Bears by Ken Ross. That is a photo-rich exploration of Kodiak bear behavior and habitat. Next one is Bears Attack, Their Causes and Prevention. It's by Stephen Harrow. That one is a groundbreaking work on human-bear interactions. Next one is a Global Climate Change and Arctic Wildlife by National Research Council. That one contextualizes the broader impact of warming on Arctic fauna, including bears. The next one is BBC Earth, Bear, and that's a documentary series by BBC Studios. And it's about stunning visuals paired with accessible narration, and it's great for visual learners. So, that's it for this episode of Stuff You Should Think About. A huge thank you for listening, and if you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. Download and leave a comment about your thoughts on this episode, or a phenomena or object you'd like discussed in future episodes on whatever platform you listen to this podcast. Until next time, stay curious.